We've got a small treat for you today, in addition to hopefully a pretty good program. We're going to play a clip of Donald Trump's speech that he made in Arizona over the weekend. You might have heard the hubbub, and I want you to just feel the hate. I love hate sometimes, I really do. I'm Randall Terry, this is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
Before we play the Donald Trump video for you, I need to talk to you about something that's a little more on the sobering side. And the Bible says, I believe it's Hebrews chapter 13, it says, remember those in prison as if in prison with them. And what would you want someone to do if you were in prison? You'd want them to try and get you out if you were there unjustly. I mean, you can figure it out. Asia Bibi, she is a Pakistani Christian woman who has been sentenced to die for insulting, quote, the Prophet Muhammad. Now, according to the news report that I read, that her crime was that she drank water out of the same vessel as some Muslim women. Be that as it may, I need you to hear me, all right? I need you to understand something. I have a master's degree in international terrorism, okay? An enormous amount of my research for my master's degree from a military school was spent studying Islamic terrorism. In addition to Islamic terrorism, I spent enormous amounts of time, and I still do, studying ancient Islamic texts, okay? The most respected, revered Muslim texts. So I don't read what other people say about it, I read it. Read their commentaries, read their scholars. Muhammad set the example of killing people who insulted him. All right? His example of having people killed, sometimes they were assassinated. A woman was assassinated in her bed because she wrote poems critical of Muhammad, because Muhammad had a friend of hers, a male friend, killed because of his poetry, where he insulted Muhammad. So this man writes a poem, insults Muhammad. Muhammad says, who will dispatch this guy for me? A guy says, I'll kill him. They murder him. And then she writes a poem defending her friend, criticizing Muhammad. He says, who will deal with this woman for me? And he goes and kills her in her bed. Just full-blown assassination. Just a flat-out murder. At Muhammad's direction. You can read it for yourself in their texts, okay? That's the foundation of the death sentence for insulting Muhammad. So this woman, Asia Bibi, has been sentenced to die. Now, one of the reports that I read said that it was because she drank water from the same vessel as Muslim women, and because she's a Christian, therefore an infidel, according to the story, it didn't make sense to me that she has somehow insulted Muhammad. Whatever her exact insulting action was. The news report said that these death sentences are often not carried out, or usually not carried out by the government. The government will sentence someone to die and then rescind it or let them go, and then a mob will find them and a mob will kill them. A mob of devout Muslims who think that they're doing Allah, God, a service, who think that they are serving the maker of the universe by descending, a mob descending on a soul, this poor woman, a poor man, and murdering them. They think they're doing God a service. But what they are doing, for sure, is they're following Sharia law. That is Islam. Okay? It's not a one-off. It's not an aberration. It's not, oh, it's been hijacked by these extremists. This is the government of Pakistan. Do you understand? This is a group of people baying like wolves, howling for this woman's blood and saying that if she gets out, they're going to kill her. Okay? That is Islam. It's not an aberration. It originates with Muhammad. And the reason you should fear, by the way, you should fear. In this sense, if you get too close to a cliff, you should fear falling off, right? If you get your hand too close to fire, you should fear being burned. Because the fire can burn you, and the height of that cliff could kill you if you fell. Islam is a threat. Muhammad's example is a threat to human freedom everywhere. And our sister, our Christian sister, Asia Bibi, is in prison right now because it is inherent to Islam to kill people who insult Muhammad. So the next time someone tells you Islam is a religion of peace, just think Asia Bibi. That doesn't sound like peace to me.
You have two choices. I mean, you can try to raise your children by design, or you will raise them by default. There are no perfect parents. We're going to get it wrong sometimes. If we have a plan, we've got a better chance of getting it right in the long run.
There is something deep within the heart of every human being that longs for parental acceptance and approval. When does a boy become a man?
Get a group of guys around and ask them that question.
I don't think there's a certain age. Some men stay boys their whole life.
I would say, 16, 18 years old.
Wow, that's a good question.
When they get bar mitzvah?
Well, I think when he has a child. So I just became at 56, 56 years old.
Without the power of the Holy Spirit changing us and giving us power over our sin, we can't hope to be the dads that our kids need us to be.
All right, now to comic relief. No, I'm not going to say that. It's not comic relief. Donald Trump is, in fact, funny. And I laughed. I laughed out loud when I saw portions of his speech in Arizona. But part of me laughed for just plain happiness. Just watch this one little segment. And remember, he doesn't have a teleprompter. Go.
So I said, what would Jeb Bush do to get...
Benghazi.
You're right, Benghazi, another Benghazi. You hear our politicians, John McCain, 2 days, oh, Benghazi, you don't hear about it anymore. Hillary Clinton with the emails, oh, the emails, 2 days. I'm more disappointed in the Republicans in many ways. They talk and talk and talk. So, Jeb Bush, let's say he's president. Ay, ay, ay. So let's say Jeb Bush is president. He knows it's no good to have a $2.5 billion plant built right near our country. Well, how does it help us, right? So here's what happens. He knows it's no good. He'll have a little pressure. Don't let the plant be built. And he might even say, don't let the plant be built. Might even call the head of Ford. The plant's not going to be built. And then the next day, he'll be called by special interests that supported him, his lobbyists who push him around like a piece of candy, or his donors who have stock in Ford. And they'll say, you can't do that. I helped you. You can't hurt them. You just can't do it. He folds in about 2 seconds. So let me say Trump is president. Right? Let me say Trump. So I don't need anybody's money. Actually, people are setting up PACs all over the place. I don't care. If they want to give it to me, I'll take it, okay? But I don't need money. I don't want money. So I'm doing my own. You'll see that on Thursday or whatever the hell day I file. You'll see I did really well. Much better than anyone ever thought. Just the opposite. So here's the story. So Trump is president. So I'll get a call from the head of Ford. And I'll say, you got to build in the United States. Sorry. They'll say, but Mr. President, really, we don't want to. I say, here's the story. Number one, congratulations on your new plant in Mexico. And number two, we're going to charge you 35% for every car, truck, and part you send over. And here's what would happen. Here's what would happen. Now, this isn't like 99% sure. This is 100%. In fact, you know the negotiators, the killers that I told you about, these bad people? I wouldn't even bother calling them because this is too easy. I can just do this, like, you know, with a couple of phone calls. So here's what would happen with Trump. I will get some calls. He will say, Mr. President, this is terrible. Please, please. Sorry, can't do anything. Sorry, I don't care. I want you to build here. I want jobs in the United States.
All right, so do you see this? Jeb Bush, Do you see how engaged the crowd is? It's a huge crowd. They're laughing, they're carrying on, there's give and take going on. And you have to hear me on this because it's so critical. Oh, Lord, have mercy on us. He has tapped into rage. He has tapped into frustration. He's got people, he's become a voice for Republicans. I know that it sounds crazy. And I know that he's not a voice on every issue for all of us. I'm certainly suspect of him when it comes to killing babies. And he says he's pro-life, and he took some hard hits, I think in a CNN interview about so-called homosexual marriage. But anyway, he's got the Republican establishment he has them having fits. And I love this. They're having fits. Now listen to me. I'm going to start a little rant. I'm going to ramp up to a rant. You and I'm a lifelong Republican. If you're not a Republican, you can just listen. But you who are Republicans, conservatives, we have been lied to. We have been abused. We have been taken for granted. We have been deceived. We have been scoffed at behind closed doors. We have been scoffed at in public. We have been berated. We have been belittled. I've got to keep going. I'll be right back. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. We have been belittled. We have been besmirched. We have been ridiculed. We have been mocked, as I said. We have been so completely, utterly, totally taken for granted. We have been run over roughshod. They don't care about us. Now, here's a guy who's a billionaire, from what I've read. Here's a guy who is saying, I'm going to say, Ford, no, you're not going over there. I won't allow this deal to happen. And I'm sure that there's going to be some commerce clause in the Constitution or some where because the anti-monopoly laws, things of this nature, there are laws governing huge corporations. So hopefully Mr. Trump is correct in his assertion that as president, he could stop it. But the point is, he's saying it. John McCain is not our friend. He is way more like Obama than any of us would like to admit. Okay? And what Donald Trump is doing is giving people a place to have their anger and their frustration vented in public. And they get to laugh and they get to say, yes, this is how I feel. Oi, 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 Jeb Bush. Now, Ronald Reagan was an actor, all right? And he became president. And he did a great job. I loved his voice, his mannerisms, his jokes. I saw him speak live once when I was a young man. First vote I ever cast was for Ronald Reagan. Donald Trump is an actor. I don't think he's as good as Reagan, but he's good. And some of this is that folksy, engaging shtick that he's tapping into the anger, and he's not afraid to tap into the anger. I'm angry. I admit it. I'm angry. And I want you to know something. There is a place for anger. Heck, for that matter, there's a place for hatred. There's a place for intolerance. Come to think of it, hatred is a family value. Yes, it is. Randall, what do you mean? Well, think about it. To fear the Lord is to hate evil. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Right? Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But you can't say that you fear the Lord and have wisdom unless you hate evil. And part of the problem that we are enduring today is the lack of righteous hatred and the lack of righteous intolerance. The Lord said to one of the churches in the book of Ephesians, he said, "This I have against you. You tolerate that woman Jezebel." Jesus said, "I have this against you. You're tolerating this woman Jezebel who teaches my servants to fornicate." Okay? George Washington was intolerant of the Brits holding Boston. Right? Patrick Henry was intolerant of British oppression. Martin Luther King was intolerant of segregation. Mother Teresa was intolerant of abortion. There's a place for intolerance. Our history is made by people who are intolerant of an evil, of an injustice. Or Karl Marx was intolerant of freedom. He wanted communism. It was a wicked design that he had, but he was angry and he had intolerance and he moved and he acted and he did. The problem that we're facing today is that we have been so browbeaten into say, "Oh, I don't want to offend anybody. I want to be politically correct, or I don't want to be labeled as hateful," that we become afraid. We're protecting our reputation, and we're afraid to say the truth. We're afraid to ridicule that which should be ridiculed. I think it was G.K. Chesterton who said, "That which is ridiculous deserves to be ridiculed." Okay? The bread and circuses. So it's part of it is that we have just internally collapsed our courage. But another part of it is because we've got so many bread and circuses. We become sated. We've become full of things that don't matter. And we're just kind of bloated. And we've lost the ability to feel passion and to feel anger and to feel frustration. And we need these things. They're not bad. And Donald Trump, in a comical way, is giving people vent to a just anger and a just frustration. And now he's leading the pack of Republicans. Go Donald. Go Donald. Go, 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 go. I have been a leader in the pro-life movement for 30 years. And sadly, we have not prevailed in our goal to make it a criminal act to kill an unborn baby. There's reasons why we have failed. I wrote this book, A Humble Plea, to Catholic bishops, to evangelical clergy, and to lay people, explaining where we went wrong and what we have to do to prevail. We've made this available as a PDF online for free. I encourage you to go and download your own copy. Why does a nice guy like me keep getting thrown in jail? I have been arrested almost 50 times and spent over a year of my life locked up in various prison facilities. And I wrote a book, many books. In fact, one of them is called Why Does a Nice Guy Like Me Keep Getting Thrown in Jail? It's a theological work, answering those who say that the church should not be involved in politics or that we should retreat. I encourage you to get it. In fact, get one and give it to your pastor. The expression, he's got a tiger by the tail, ooh, that's a bad plan, because when that tiger whips around, he's going to be angry. Well, right now, the Republican Party is in a real quandary because Donald Trump is giving vent to the anger that Republicans feel towards the Republican Party. You notice in that clip what he said. In fact, let's just play it again. Listen.
So I said, what would Jeb Bush do to get...
Benghazi.
You're right, Benghazi, another Benghazi. You hear our politicians, John McCain, 2 days, oh, Benghazi, you don't hear about it anymore. Hillary Clinton with the emails, oh, the emails, 2 days. I'm more disappointed in the Republicans in many ways. They talk and talk and talk.
You see? He says that he's just almost as angry at the Republicans as he is for what they have refused to do, what they have failed to do, as he is the Democrats. In that 5 seconds, he captured it. And he said it pretty politely. I'd like to say it with a little bit more force and with more than 5 seconds. The Republicans are more of the problem because they're the enemy inside the gate. An enemy outside of the gate makes you vigilant. Okay, just picture you're in a walled city and there's a threat of an enemy coming. The enemy outside the gate makes you vigilant. You're watchful. You're checking people who are coming in. You're keeping them in your sights, right? But an enemy in the gate, he doesn't make you watchful. He makes you dead. He can poison your food in the day. He can slit your throat in the night. In the wee hours of the morning, he can open the gate and let the enemy in. This is what the Republican Party is. They're more of a threat to us because they're right beside us. They're the ones betraying us. Think about this with me. Think about this. Almost every Republican who has said anything about the Supreme Court ruling in Obergefell, the so-called same-sex marriage ruling, this abominable crime against God and man, this wicked overthrow of our government, this compact with hell, okay? Most of them who have spoken on it have said it's not constitutional. It's outside of the Constitution. Chief Justice Roberts said this has nothing to do with the Constitution. Justice Scalia said it was an overthrow of our government. He called it a judicial putsch, which is an overthrow of the government, all right? Alito, Thomas, they all said this is outside of our realm. This is not legal for us to do this. What did our Republicans do? Nothing. Nothing. They whine like little, or they'll make a big speech. We will not stand for this. Half measures. I call them half measures from hell. I've been listening to the response of various Christian leaders, so-called Christian leaders who don't lead, who don't know how to fight. And it's all half measures. I know a pastor saying, we will never do a homosexual marriage here. Fine. What are you going to do when some members of your church are going to jail? What are you going to do when members of your church are losing their businesses or their homes because they refuse to do business with a homosexual couple? We won't cater your wedding. We won't give flowers or sell flowers to your wedding. We just go down the list. Go down the list of businesses that are going to be impacted. What are you going to do then, Mr. Pastor? You're going to find out where the judge lives and have a protest at his home? You're going to hang the judge in effigy? You're going to burn him in effigy? In other words, these half measures aren't going to cut it. Patrick Henry, in his Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech, I urge you, just please, between now and the next show, find that speech. Get it in a book in your house, go online and find it, go to the library and find it. It's not that long. The Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech, okay? There were people who were present at that speech who said that it was the best oratory, the best speech they had ever heard in their life. One man was standing outside the church, St. John's Church, listening, and he said, I want to be buried in this spot. And he was after the war. He fought in the war and he was buried in that spot. Because he recognized, Patrick Henry recognized, half measures are no more. they intend to enslave us. They've enslaved Boston, and we have to fight them. We have to fight them. And right now, that fighting spirit is exactly what is missing in the Christian community, and it's exactly what we need if we're going to restore this nation.